diria. Nvidia earnings. Big day, big day. We got Nvidia earnings after market yesterday, and they beat. They beat. Jensen did it. He did it. He did it. We're gonna be focused on, we got Nvidia earnings, and then we got another few smaller stories. Some Sam Altman, more Sam Altman drama, Elon Musk Sam Altman, Elon Musk drama combined, but also just Sam Altman separately drama. Axios did a big piece on AI job loss, and I'm curious. It seems like there's been a lot more talk, at least on like X, about AI job loss. So I'm curious what that's going to be about. And then Tesla's Robotaxi service is coming to Austin on June 12th. So wait and see. Wait and see for that. I'll have to see it before I believe it. And then speaking of more chip stuff, Trump is also now halting software exports to China, chip design software. So it's ramping up. And also there was another article, or there was something else I saw about how Jensen is building there's rumors that he's like expanding and like building something in China, like a new headquarters or new design facility, but Nvidia's denying it. So interesting there. So yeah, let's jump right into Nvidia earnings. First, let's actually look at stock price. Bro, finally was able to exit my NVDL, my 2 times leverage Nvidia share, up 9%. I was like, I'll take it. I bought it at like the peak in January, February, and have honestly just kind of been looking for a excuse to get rid of it. And I did. I was like, I'm out. Not saying I won't buy it again, but for now I'm out. Nvidia's up 4.27% today. We'll take that. Are they up for the year now though? 1.5%. That's what I'm talking about. One of the few stocks now that is up year to date. Year to date has been rough. Just looking at all the other big tech companies here. Yep. I use my NVDL shares to buy, selling those to buy more Rocket Lab. After their Rocket Lab's recent acquisition, I am even more bullish on them. So even though they don't make money, I'm in it for the long run. Okay. Q1 revenue surged 69%. It's crazy that they're growing. I know it's quarter, but like 69%, like that is insane. And I've also been seeing a lot more talks about the like AI bubble too. And I'm actually like, I like earlier this year, maybe more end of last year, I would have thought AI's in a bubble, but I don't think we really are right now. I think there's definitely a little bit, but it's so as long as they keep putting out and like outputting, like, you know, like continuing growth and also like revenue, like OpenAI, like they have, you know, they have money coming in, they're just not profiting, you know, they're not netting anything. And so as long as that's going, I think we're good. I wonder how long did the .com bubble like last? I don't know. Anyways. Yeah, I mean, Nvidia's just growing like crazy. It's insane. Blackwell GPU ramp is the fastest in the company history, now contributing nearly 70% of data center compute revenue. GB200s, Grace Blackwell 200s, and NVL 72 racks are generally available. That's good. The Blackwell, kind of the Blackwell systems are like full racks. That's kind of like the big jump in advance this time around was that instead of having like an individual card, it's like the entire rack is, one big GPU essentially. Says major hyperscalers deploying nearly 72,000 Blackwell GPUs per week. Holy shit, per week? That's crazy. Bro, Perplexity, the way it jumps like this is so annoying. Wait, I just see this. $500 billion IT infrastructure. Oh, okay. Yeah, major customers like Microsoft and OpenAI are scaling development. NVIDIA's networking business saw a 64% sequential growth to $5 billion. NVLink. We got to see. I want more NVLink. And then it says the upcoming GB300 systems are seeing strong adoption among hyperscalers. So the next generation's even seeing it. And then, the company faced a $4.5 billion inventory write-off due to new U.S. export controls on H20 GPUs. That's the one specifically made for China. And expects a meaningful decrease in China data center. Oh, bro, this is so annoying. Can I turn this off? Oh my gosh, Perplexity. Yeah, they lost $8 billion in H20 revenue with the chip imports. China data center revenue expected to decrease meaningfully. All right, and then this is just oops, let me zoom out. Whoop. There we go. This is just its growth. Oh, they don't have robotics on here? I want to, let's look at, here. I really want to specifically see kind of, I like how they break it out like this. Yeah. Oh, automotives is in robotics. Interesting that they didn't actually, see growth here. I guess it was more sideways. But like this jump here in the past few years for auto/robotics is crazy. And even like the like smaller industries, I guess, are kind of like still doing okay. And gaming, man. I didn't expect like this is, I know they launched the 5000 series, so that's likely why, but I think this was also important in the growth here too. Like this is, they made a lot on this, and this really helped make up, I think, for China too, a little bit at least. Not $8 billion, but something. He made the stock go up even more. That's what he did. Yep. He made stock go up. So 4% today. It's a good thing. A good thing. Even more. Even more. So let's see. NVIDIA today reported revenue for the first quarter ended April 27, up of $44.1 billion, up 12% from previous quarter, and up 69% from a year ago. Haha, funny number. 69. On April 9, NVIDIA informed the And I see. The U.S. government that the license is required to export required for exports of its H20 products in the China market. As a result, these requirements, NVIDIA incurred a $4.5 billion charge in the first quarter fiscal 2026 associated with H20 excess inventory and purchase obligations as the demand for H20 diminished. Sales of H20 products were $4.6 billion for the first quarter of fiscal 2026, part of the new export licensing requirements. NVIDIA was unable to ship an additional $2.5 billion of H20 revenue in the first quarter. Okay. Bro, gross margins, non-GAAP gross margin of 60%. It would have been 71%. Like, those margins are insane. Our breakthrough Blackwell NVL72 AI supercomputer, a thinking machine designed for reasoning, is now in full-scale production across system makers and cloud service providers. Then Jensen Huang, founder and CEO of NVIDIA. Global demand for NVIDIA's AI infrastructure is incredibly strong. AI inference token generation has surged tenfold in just 1 year as AI agents become mainstream. Demand for AI computing will accelerate. Countries around the world are recognizing AI as essential infrastructure, just like electricity and the internet. We're getting there. We're getting there. Not quite yet, but NVIDIA stands at the center of this profound transformation. Man, bro, this dividend, penny, rolling in it. Yeah, and this growth is insane. Somehow added a little less. I guess they had much higher margins here, so that's why. Damn, bro, they're at 78%. All right, and let's look at their outlook, because this is a good indicator now of like future sales. What sales they like could potentially have like booked that they haven't. I don't know, like realized the gain yet. I don't know. Revenue is expected to be $45 billion. That's a little bit more than this quarter, plus or minus 2%. The outlook reflects a loss in H20 revenue of approximately $8 billion due to the recent export controls. The companies continue to work on achieving gross margins in the mid-70 range late this year. That's crazy. Mid-70, they're even like shooting higher. Yeah, expenses 5.7 to 4 billion. It's crazy. 16.5% tax rate. It's crazy too. All right. Now let's go through here. This is what I like to read, the data center. Or once when the market crashed, I still remember the day I was in conference where the speakers praising NVIDIA about their task and the market crashed while he's talking about NVIDIA. That's funny. All right, first quarter revenue up 10%. Previous quarter 73% from a year ago. Announced that NVIDIA is building factories in the US. What is like an AI factory? Like as in a data center, or like what is? Working with manufacturing partners to design and build factories that, for the first time, produce NVIDIA AI supercomputers entirely in the US. Have started production at TSMC plants in Phoenix. Okay, but the problem is, and I guess not to get hung up on this point, but TSMC still has to send the chips to Taiwan to package and finish them. So, I mean, I don't know. Outlets? I'm not sure what that means. What do you mean? They got the NVIDIA Blackwell Ultra, NVIDIA Dynamo for accelerating and scaling AI reasoning models. Okay, yeah, then they partnered with Humane to build AI factories in Saudi Arabia. This is like the sovereign AI kind of talk that's been happening. Unveiled Stargate UAE. I actually didn't cover this on stream because there's other pressing stuff, but like a factory outlet which is being imported. Yeah, I don't even know. Yeah, I think it's more so they're just partnering with TSMC, who makes their chips, and then TSMC is now making them in China, and then it seems like they're doing some other stuff in Dallas. Unveiled Stargate. Yeah, the again, the sovereign AI going now to the UAE, and NVIDIA is also now under the Biden administration. There are stricter requirements on selling chips, and with under Trump now, NVIDIA could sell to some more customers in the Middle East that they couldn't otherwise do under the Biden administration. So I think that's why we're kind of seeing like this, working with the UAE, Saudi Arabia. And I think before the worry was that the chips could potentially make their way to China from the Middle East somehow, or just to partners that we don't want having the chips. Because, I mean, some of the partners in the Middle East are like, I mean, it's politics, I guess. Like, this is now, like, so, we gotta trust them. I guess, like, we just kind of have to put the blind trust in them, but, who knows what's gonna happen. Then, yeah, the next generation AI infrastructure cluster in Abu Dhabi, United Arab Emirates, alongside strategic partners, G42, OpenAI, Oracle, SoftBank Group, Cisco. These guys are all, like, a part of the existing Stargate project. Rio plans to work with Foxconn and the Taiwan government to build an AI factory supercomputer. Yeah, and again, another sovereign AI type of deal for Taiwan. Foxconn is another chip manufacturer. Stargate is a separate company that is operationally being ran by OpenAI and Oracle, as well as SoftBank. SoftBank is funding the entire thing, and it is essentially a data center project. They're making data centers. They're just building out data centers that are going to be owned by and operated by OpenAI. And they created a separate project, and they're now offering it to countries. So, like, if like Stargate, which it can involve is OpenAI, Oracle, SoftBank. NVIDIA provides technology. I think Microsoft is a technology partner, and then there's also some funding from another like Saudi or like Middle Eastern type of like sovereign wealth fund that's also helping pay for it. It might even be UAE. So it's just like a data center consortium operated by OpenAI, and they're offering it though as like a sovereign type AI infrastructure. So they'll go build a data center in your country and then use it to host their AI models, and then they'll tune it to your local culture and country. Yeah. I have a video on my YouTube channel, OpenAI for Countries, and I kind of talk more about the politics of it and like how I kind of see it playing out. If you want to dive a little deeper. And we got revealed plans. Yeah, I think it's pretty interesting, kind of like this sovereign AI thing. Revealed plans to work. Oh yeah, we got that. Sweet. Yeah, let me know. Announced NVIDIA is speeding the IT infrastructure transition to enterprise AI factories with NVIDIA RTX Pro servers. Okay, yeah, they talked about this at Computex. Yeah, this is Computex. Oh, sweet. Thanks, man. I'm gonna start. Yeah, that's like a probably start here soon. Actually, a newsletter. So appreciate it. Cool. I appreciate it, man. Yeah. Thank you. I'm trying, but I'm gonna try and start making some more long form videos, not just live stream. So, but I appreciate it. Okay. Oh yeah, NVLink Fusion. This is what I'm really excited about this as a shareholder, but also just for NVIDIA expanding for industry to build semi-custom AI infrastructure with the NVIDIA partner ecosystem. Announced the Spectrum X, NVIDIA Quantum X Silicon Photonics. Okay. Yeah, the Blackwell Ultra GPUs. Announced a joint initiative with Alphabet and Google to advance agentic AI solutions, robotics, and drug discovery. Okay. Announced integration between NVIDIA accelerated computing inference software with Oracle's AI infrastructure. This is important because Oracle's, making data centers for OpenAI and Stargate. NVIDIA Blackwell cloud instances are now available on all the big cloud providers. Blackwell platform set records with the latest ML inference test. Okay. Neutron. All right. These are all kind of like super not. Okay, then we got announced the opening of research center in Japan that hosts the world's largest quantum research supercomputer. I was wondering if NVIDIA would ever get into quantum stuff. I know you, Ketchup Banana, I know you said you like quantum computers. Okay, then gaming and AI PC. This was, they announced the RTX 50 series earlier this year, so we're seeing this now roll in. Up 48%. 42% a year ago. Yeah, we got the 5070 and 5060. There was a lot of controversy around the 5060 though, because I guess the specs for the pricing and stuff has kind of not been the best. I don't really like the direction NVIDIA's going in their AI or in their gaming section with the like AI generated frames. I think it's kind of a it just allows devs to be lazy and NVIDIA to kind of like profit off of the devs' laziness by making, artificially increasing the frame rate. Like, I don't think this is a good direction for the gaming, but whatever. Yeah, and then Nintendo Switch is powered by an NVIDIA processor, which I think is kind of cool, actually. Although NVIDIA did make the processor for the last Switch too. Last Switch as well. Launch NVIDIA RTX Remix modding platform. I've not heard of this. NVIDIA can make surprise announcement on Quantum. Trust. Think about the optimization though, like every potato PC can run any game. No, true. That is good. I guess like if I'm talking like I have the compute power to not do this frame generation BS, but then the devs rely on the frame generation because they know that they could like put less work in and it'll still like run okay. I think that's kind of like where it's kind of dumb, but that's a good that's an optimistic view though, what you said. It's good though. Okay, then professional visualization up 19%. Announced our NVIDIA RTX Pro Blackwell series for workstation and servers. DGX Spark. Oh, the DGX Spark is under professional visualization. That's interesting. Personalized computer. Leading industrial software providers Accenture, Databricks, SAP, Schneider Electric, ETAP, and Siemens are integrating NVIDIA Omniverse. Okay. Robotics is down 1%, up 72%. Okay, geez. Collaboration with General Motors on next generation vehicles, factories, and robots using NVIDIA Omniverse. Okay. Sweet. All right, let's look at let's look at some other analyst opinions. I got a few interviews, or actually, let's look at Jensen. Jensen did an interview with Jim Cramer on CNBC. Not the biggest Jim Cramer fan, but it is what it is. Hang on. All right.
Tonight we got the single most important quarter of this entire earnings season when NVIDIA reported. There's a lot of hand-wringing about this one as usual, but NVIDIA delivered a huge set of numbers, including a sizable top and bottom line beat, healthy revenue.
Yeah, Omniverse is cool. Agreed.
Guidance for the current quarter, even after taking an $8 billion sales hit on those export controls that prevent him from doing lots of business in China. So how'd they pull it off? Let's go straight to the source with the man I call the modern-day Leonardo da Vinci, Jensen Huang, the co-founder, president, CEO of NVIDIA. Well, Jensen, welcome back to Mad Money.
Hey, Jim, it's great to be here.
All right, so let's go to, it's a remarkable quarter in every single way, but you do say, I'm going to go right there, that China is positioned to lead globally, and you do not think that unless you can sell to China, you can necessarily lead with them. And I look at this market, and I'm saying there's $50 billion up for grab. I actually think it could literally be all yours if there weren't export controls. Am I wrong? And how much of that money would flow back to the United States if you could do the sales?
Before you even answers, that's like an insane way to think about it. The money will flow back to the United States. I don't know about that. That's like trickle down economics, BS that clearly doesn't work. Like, interesting. Also, I mean, like, Jim is, again, like, going back to like democratic AI versus like communist AI, Chinese AI. If it's more than just, I guess, like the money in it. Like like, I guess, like, that's kind of like a narrow way of thinking about it. I feel like it's like, it's the strategy, it's the infrastructure, it's having democratic or American infrastructure, like, that's kind of more so the problem. And also, like, if China's definitely already gonna, like, there's a black market for these chips. China was gonna try and reverse engineer it. Like, IP really isn't that safe in China. Like, those are legitimate concerns. Like, Jensen's face says it all, like, literally. As soon as he started talking about China, he's like smiling. He's like, He's like, oh, serious. But I don't know.
NVIDIA's market share in China was about 95% 4 years ago. It's about 50% today because of the limitations on the products that we sell. $50 billion a year market today. It's growing just like AI is growing everywhere. Over the course of this 4 years, the president's administration, we're probably talking about a few $100 billion worth of revenues to NVIDIA, probably tens of billions of dollars of taxes, revenues to the country.
True. I guess the tax
is just incredible.
The tax argument, that's a good way. Jensen knew what he's talking about. That's new. He knows what he's talking about. Sorry, I accidentally skipped ahead.
Strategically, more importantly, this is very important.
People's AI more in a political spectrum rather than seeing it as a technology revolution. Yeah, I mean, I think the problem is, though, it's dual use. It's technology technology could be used for good and bad. Because AI does have a lot of downsides, I think it's thought of like as like a weapon. I'm kind of comparing it to like nuclear weapons, in the sense that it might have the same influence in the future as nuclear weapons do now. And so I think it's people kind of prepping for that, which in turn makes it political. And also, like, I guess, like, that's kind of, it sucks that technology is politicized like this, but because of the potential downsides, I feel like it kind of is, or like the government like has to step in. Even like regulation in the United States here is like, like we're starting to get regulation around the technology, which is also, crazy. But that's, again, it's because of, I feel like, the kind of problems that have been arising around AI. Yeah, it's weird, but I guess everything's politicized now in the future we live in. So,
first of all, the China market is, of course, very large, but it's also the home of 50% of the world's AI researchers. The platform that succeeds is the platform with the most developers. Just like iPhone's successful because of lots of developers, Windows successful because of lots of developers, all these platforms succeed because there are a lot of developers. China is home to 50% of the AI researchers in the world. And so we want the world to build on American technology stack. We want every developer in the world to prefer the American technology stack.
This is it.
Once that happens, the developers develop on American technology stacks. American technology stacks will run AI the best all over the world. And so that's probably the most important strategic reason to be in China, because there are so many developers there, and because the world is going to adopt technology from one country or another, and we prefer it to be the American technology stack.
Well, the president has a plan. You say that. He has a vision, and you trust him. You say that. I have to believe that you think that he has to either see the light, or he has, and that things that look so dire right now in China may not be as dire, and there could be, even as soon as next quarter, more business being done than we thought after tonight.
It's hard to tell, but the most important thing is this, Jim.
Did he go,
Our president wants America to win. And he also recognizes that this is an important market. It's a very large market. And the revenues that it could generate for the United States is significant. It's just incredible. $50 billion this year. Look, we're talking about the size of a Boeing, not a Boeing plane, Boeing the company. This is an enormous market, and so I think the opportunity left behind is quite substantial. This is also an excellent way to improve our trade deficit.
It would also seem to me that there must be some people who think that they can militarize your chips. I can't imagine a scenario where they would decide, you know what, we're going to use NVIDIA chips on our aircraft carriers. We're going to put them on our submarines. Wouldn't that be foolhardy? We would never use Huawei chips in our missiles.
Yeah, that's like a mischaracterizing it, because it's more so the chips will just be in the data center, and then you're running military, like AI or something on NVIDIA chips in the data center. It's not necessarily like in these like critical infrastructure pieces, like. Let's see what you say.
That's exactly right. They have plenty of chips themselves. Obviously, we're losing market share to chips that are built locally. China is an extraordinary manufacturing capability, and they are doubling the number of chips that they're building every single year. The technology that's being offered by Huawei is extraordinary. This is an extraordinary technology company, and so we have plenty of competition there. Chinese government has plenty of choices with indigenous technology, which is their preference. And so I think that the idea that anyhow, go ahead.
But isn't it true that the president has helped you immeasurably? The huge business that you're doing in the Gulf states. When you see him, he obviously is in many ways NVIDIA's #1 salesperson. Is it asking too much to be able to say, and not only that, Mr. President, I also want you to open China?
Well, we're going to keep our dialogue going with the administration, and I believe that what we're explaining is ground truth, and we understand the technology best, and we understand how computing works, we understand how AI works, and we've been in China for 30 years, and so this is an area that we have a lot of expertise, and we're going to continue to share that. But let me tell you this, Jim.
Jensen is there. He has been in the news because Trump has been helping him, like in the Middle East, but Jensen has still been very critical of the export restrictions, and people are like, he helped Jensen, like, why is he now criticizing the president? And I think that is a good strategy. It's like, it should be, he did help him, and so now Jensen's like, let's keep this going. Like, I want to, I want it to be, the relationship to be better. I don't, just because it's okay, it's like, I want to improve it. So he's like, yeah, I want to, change the export restrictions. I want to keep improving the relationship. I don't know. I think that's fair. And the fact that people have to like walk around on tiptoes around Trump about deal making and like, it's like that shouldn't be the case either.
Listen,
and the fact that the president is even like making deals like this is kind of weird. Not gonna lie.
the president laid out a bold vision for the United States, for America to reindustrialize the onshore manufacturing so that we can have a more resilient supply chain, so that we can create jobs locally, very importantly, so that we become great at manufacturing again. At a time when manufacturing isn't about labor, but it's about labor only, but it's about technology. And so that vision is incredible. This initiative by the president is likely going to set the United States up for a century, for this century to come. This is going to be a very big deal. I also think that when he rescinded the AI diffusion rule.
That's the Biden administration.
It was a visionary move. It was a bold move, and he recognizes
that's what allowed NVIDIA to sell to the Middle East. Was this diffusion rule being the Biden administration diffusion rule being removed allowed NVIDIA to sell to other places.
That there's an AI race, and we're not alone, and he wants America to win, and so it's not about AI diffusion limitation. It's about AI diffusion maximizing American technology.
Okay, so
and so he sees that.
Okay, so let's talk about the Blackwell ramp, which was amazing, and of course we're going to have Ultra, which is incredible, and the demand. Is the demand, as when I saw you the last few times, it sounds like you're running out of superlatives, but demand seems even stronger than.
It was just a rule the Biden administration put in that restricted who could use American like AI technology, and it was much stricter than what the Trump administration now has in place. So now the Trump administration removed that, but now they put a different system in, like this licensing, so that they now have to get a license from the government to sell to places like China. But now they're able to freely sell stuff to places like the Middle East, sell chips and stuff to the Middle East, which is what happened, a few weeks ago. Nvidia announced like the Saudi Arabia partnership with Humane, and then recently with the UAE. So they're kind of now starting to sell to these other places that the Biden administration didn't want them to sell to.
GTC, it's even stronger than Computex.
The demand keeps growing because there's just more companies. Well, number one, inference has taken off. That is number one. Inference has taken off. This reasoning AI capability is genuinely a breakthrough. It is now so popular, solving so many problems. And the amount of computation necessary for reasoning, for thinking, is 100 times, 1,000 times more than a couple of years ago when ChatGPT was a one-shot answer AI. And so now these reasoning AIs requires a lot of thinking, a lot of compute. The demand is just incredible.
Now you're telling me even since
of course,
GTC,
we're getting more customers.
But even since GTC, you just increased it. It was 100 times GTC. Now it's possibly even 1,000. Yeah. How is this possible, Jensen? And why are there still people who are holding back and not seeing?
That's interesting, because I didn't even think about inference, because inference uses much less compute than something like training. But I guess because now a lot of models are like reasoning or thinking, it takes a lot more inference to do that reasoning and then, spit out the actual like answer. I didn't even realize that. Yeah. So like inference, I'm sure, is, like he's saying, so much more. Also, like inference should be where other chip makers like Intel and AMD should be able to come in, because it does require much less compute. Like they should be able to like sell, like where are they in this? It's kind of crazy that like how far like AMD and Intel are still behind. I mean, Intel's like having much bigger problems, but even AMD, like it's crazy. Like they need to get their shit together.
What you're doing. We will all have robots. We will all have we'll have hands-free driving. All this is going to come about much faster than people realize because of what you're working on.
It's completely true. Robotics is definitely within the next 3 to 4 or 5 years. The technology works today. It's starting to work very well today. Now, once a technology becomes realized, becomes possible, it's only a couple of two, 3 ticks for an engineer to crank it and turn it into something that could be really scaled out in volume. And so self-driving cars are here, that we know. Robotics is going to be right around the corner. Robotic factories being built around the world. Yeah, this is the next great growth opportunity.
All right, so let's talk software. I don't think enough is talked about software. I don't think we're not talking about Omniverse enough, and we're not talking about the idea that you're just not selling these devices. You're selling a full platform that's not duplicable, which is why you're so far ahead, everybody.
The software is, I mean, like anyone could, make the chip, but it's more so the software that glues everything together. And NVIDIA with CUDA has been so far ahead on software forever. Like they've never not had the lead in software, likely. It's so good. And that's really now, I feel like what's actually setting them apart is like, the offerings that they have alongside the GPUs, the actual compute. AMD doesn't have any of that. Intel doesn't have any of that. I doubt even Huawei has, is up to par on, the NVIDIA's like software stack. Like they are very far ahead even in the software space. Like the moat is huge. Keeps like, I don't know. I guess if you have money, just buy NVIDIA.
It's not just about the hardware.
We used to be a chip company, and then we became a systems company. And Jim, now, we're an entire infrastructure company. If you take a look at what we build, it's an entire factory. And you can't just load up a factory with chips. You've got computing systems, you got networking systems and switches. But what you have mostly is a mountain of software to get it all to run. When you've got a $50 billion infrastructure, the software necessary to keep it humming and to make it make the utilization and the efficiency and its throughput as high as possible, that piece of software is invaluable. If the utilization was 10% off, that's worth $5 billion. And so this is a very big deal now. Software is just a giant part of our business.
Okay, how about what we have to talk about society when I hear what you can do, when I hear what the robots can do, when I know what Boston Dynamics, 1X, when I see what these companies can do.
Even so far simulation where the model knows basically physics properties like gravity, fluidity, object permanence, and more. That's crazy. That's crazy. I mean, it's like that's their competitive advantage. You know, that's what makes them good. That's cool though. Honestly, I want to just like have Omniverse just to like as like a consumer just like play around with like a simulated world like that. It seemed like it'd be fun.
How about what we have to talk about society when I hear what you can do, when I hear what the robots can do, when I know what Boston Dynamics, 1X, when I see what these companies can do, I wonder, is the CEO of Anthropic going to be right when he talks about a bloodbath of white-collar workers, unemployment spiking 10 to 20%, mass elimination of jobs? Or is it your vision that productivity, like whether it be the loom, whether it be the canal, whether it be the steam engine, these were all generators of jobs, not retractors of jobs?
Jensen's like, what do I say here? This one's rough. It's been very double-sided, and we'll read this later, but it's been very double-sided about creating jobs or taking jobs away. The ultimate goal is to take jobs away. Like, it's to replace you. It's not to make it, you know, like there will likely be temporarily more jobs, but the ultimate goal is no jobs, you know, to take your job, to replace humans.
It's a generator of jobs. There are surely different views. Let me give you this view.
Okay.
There's a labor shortage between now and the end of the decade that's measured in some 30, 40, 50 million short. If you just translate 50 million people short in labor force and translate that to GDP growth, it's extraordinary. It's approximately about the size of the United States. And so the ability for us to expand what is today a limited and short labor shortage, we around the world should be able to expand our GDP, and that's our future, to be able to turn these agents, which are essentially workforce robots, information robots, and human robots, physical robots, to expand the world's GDP.
All right, one last question from me. I want to be sure that we have a smooth transition to the next iteration, to Ultra, and then even to Rubin. How are we feeling? Because I know that there was a glitch. I got a little too aggressive in thinking everything would be smooth. I got ahead. I don't want to get ahead of myself this time. We looking good?
Well, first of all, Jim, remember, we made last quarter, we made the quarter before that. So it was not easy. It was not easy. And let me tell you why it wasn't easy. In the case of Grace Blackwell, because of this thinking machine we wanted to create, this reasoning AI factory we wanted to create, we changed the architecture of these AI supercomputers. The architecture is completely different, and it's extraordinarily complex. And so anyways, now the entire supply chain, not only that, we enabled a very, very large supply chain to be able to build these things. Every ODM, every OEM, CSPs, they've now got it up and running.
Okay.
And now here's the really great thing. Ultra is exactly the same architecture, exactly the same chassis, and so we'll just slip it right in and keep running.
All right, we're going to leave it there. I wish you the best of luck. Congratulations on an amazing quarter, and let's see if the president's plan includes opening China back for you. Thank you so much, Jensen Huang.
Thank you, Jim.
Absolutely. President, founder, CEO.
Off to the races.
All right. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Jim.
Okay.
Good to see you.
May have back after the break.
All right. That is Jim Cramer, NVIDIA. I think about 50 years ago when machinery came into the industry, people said the same machine's going to take your job. Now people use machines as part of their job like a tool. 5 years old, going to use AI as part of their job rather than replacing it. Yeah, no, and I think that is likely going to be, that's how it's going to start out. Especially like as agents now are getting more developed, and by the end of this year, agents will probably be much more mature technology that will actually be able to do real stuff. it'll be more so like kind of Microsoft has been pushing, where it's like you work alongside them, you kind of manage agents and they help do things. I do think that there is a future there, but again, the agents are potentially replacing other jobs. And I think the ultimate goal would be you have orchestrators of these agents, kind of like orchestrators or like managers of the agents, and there's just a few people in the organization that is then kind of orchestrating a bunch of these agents doing, like, creating the value of the business. I do see that, but I think the goal, it would still start to slowly eliminate jobs. And then, at the same time, as AI does start to get better and better, it'll be better at doing things to replace other jobs. But I think what you said is how it's going to start, and then it'll just slowly start to transition. I'm more pessimistic isn't the right word, but I just think we have much longer until we do get to like AGI or like it replacing like most human jobs. Like I think we got a little bit of time. Like I think the 2030s, we have real physical bottlenecks like power generation. Like we just can't make enough power that I think is going to stop us from getting like real like actual AGI. And I think a lot of that will be unlocked in the 2030s when a lot of big data center projects are finished, and also we are getting a lot of like nuclear energy projects that are going to be finished. There's other like research and stuff that still has to be done. So yeah, and I know that there's like the argument for like the intelligence explosion, where it's like in the AI 2027 report, where they kind of talk about how in 2027, like that's when they think that the intelligence explosion will happen, and that it'll help create other more powerful AI, I guess. I don't know. Yeah. What type of jobs are out there in 2030s? Any job that you have to do with your hands, any, like kind of blue collar job, I guess. Any technician sort of job, because robots, we still have a while for robots until like they could actually do stuff in the world that isn't in like a controlled environment like a factory. So I think anything with hands, I think a lot of anything that requires like a human to show up, so like a doctor, lawyer, engineer, like anything that requires like a special certificate or like test to pass. I doubt we'll have AI lawyers anytime soon. Politicians, like those will likely still be there. Not to say that all those jobs won't be using AI, but I still think that there needs to be a human there to do those jobs. Hardware engineers, maybe. I mean, you do work on hardware, but like, I guarantee you NVIDIA is working on AI, if not already has an AI to help them design better chips, So, I mean, yeah, maybe. I want to make I guess it's a separate video. I do want to make a video about like agents, like the agentic economy and kind of how I see that, but I do like doing research on like what jobs will be left. It'd be interesting. We'll see. Or none of it happens, and like, AI is just a cool little technology that never really takes off. But I think the fact that that governments are getting involved makes me think that that in itself makes me think that AI is like more than just a cool, technology that will never get like into more mainstream markets. And also the fact of like how many people that are actually using it, that all seems optimistic to me for it to continue to kind of improve. It's also the scary part. So, yeah. They do use AI to design their chips. Okay, yeah, so I guess they already do it. I guess though, and I do think that it's not again, like it's not like initially it'll be completely replacing the jobs, but it'll likely shrink the overall like type of job, like for hardware engineers, like they likely just may need less of them because they could use AI to assist them. So it may not necessarily like replace it, but it might like shrink the overall total jobs for that. I think that's a possibility too. Software engineering, though, is definitely all the big, like, that's all the big companies are working on, you know, coding agents, because that allows them to kind of iteratively, you know, like recursively loop and iterate on improving the AI itself in a way. Google used the Alpha Evolve AI to optimize itself before to be more efficient. Oh, okay, sweet. Yeah, that's crazy. But yeah, exact stuff like that. That's like, I feel like that will definitely, you know, kind of replace jobs maybe. We'll see. Okay, let's actually watch this.
Anything.
Oh, we got him again, bro. We got him here too. We'll just watch this then. This is analyst Dan Ives. He's kind of been on some other we've watched him before. He has a lot of like big tech commentary, so
Dan Ives of Wedbush has this to say: there is one chip in the world fueling the AI revolution, and it's NVIDIA. The AI revolution is heading into its next gear of growth despite the Trump tariff war playing out. Dan joins us now for more. Dan, good morning.
Great to be here.
What did you like most yesterday?
I mean, look, the godfather of AI, Jensen, delivered yet again. And I think if you look demand outstripping supply, we believe 8-1. And despite the China tariffs, I mean, I think if you look apples to apples, that would have been a $53 billion number compared to where the street, apples to apples, would have been at $48 billion. I think it just shows there's only one chip fueling this AI revolution. It's Jensen and NVIDIA.
Wait, he doesn't own Apple? He doesn't own NVIDIA either. Oh, wait. Let's look at Dadorama. Wedbush. Companies under coverage. Okay, I guess maybe he is just an analyst. A lot of times they Dadorama is a site where you could see how other at least in America, like large investment like hedge funds and investment funds need to publicly say like what their top holdings are. And so you could go here and like you could look at like we could look at like Bill Ackman, who's, you know, notorious investor, and we could see what shares he holds. And they have to update this like quarterly. So yeah, you could kind of just go and see. So I was just gonna go see what, like, if we could see what Dan Ives owns. I guess these are just ratings, but I just wanted to see if maybe, because it didn't on here, they had to disclose like what he owns legally. That's why I try and say when I talk about a stock I own, I always try and say it, because legally you do have to say it, you do have to share. So I was just trying to see if I could see what he owns. But this website's cool. It's very simple. But like you look at like Warren Buffett. Oh my gosh. Nope. Yeah, Warren Buffett. You see all what he owns, what he bought, sold to the last quarter. So he has a lot of Apple. $66 billion of Apple. Oh, good.
Dollar number compared to where the street, apples to apples, would have been at $48 billion.
Right,
I think
of course,
it just shows there's only one chip fueling this AI revolution. It's Jensen and NVIDIA.
There's a question of whether they'll be allowed to fuel that AI revolution. In other words, if they will be allowed to move into China in the way that they kind of need to longer term in order to maintain that dominance. What about yesterday gave you that confidence, given the fact that there still are some pretty existential risks about their ability to operate in China?
Yeah, I know you'll talk to Navarro after. Look, the reality is that Jensen and NVIDIA are essentially giving away their China business on a silver platter. Huawei, here's our business. And that's the reality. And I think more and more, there's going to have to be some negotiation where they're enabled behind, right now, back against the wall. They need to have a chip that U.S. sanction that they could sell into China. Because otherwise, all you're doing here is you're cutting them off at the knees, and Huawei is getting that market. And that's the reality. And I think that was a shot across the bow last night from Jensen. They are in a position of strength. There's one chip in the world fueling it. They continue to see demand that's, I believe, staggering.
There was sort of a subtle narrative shift. There's been a tone from the administration, both this one as well as the Biden administration.
It's kind of too late though with what he's saying about the sanctions and allowing to be sold into China. There is a balance to be made when you're talking about sanctioning a country, specifically with like technology. And with China, you know, because we just pretty much fully cut off China now, they're incentivized to just start investing more domestically, and they probably don't even care about the other chips now. Like, obviously, if NVIDIA comes and says we could sell these powerful chips, they'll probably buy them. But in the meantime, they're just like, okay, let's just start investing domestically because we got cut off. The opposite side would be if they didn't get cut off and NVIDIA could just sell into their market, or all American chip companies, or, you know, international chip companies, they wouldn't be as incentivized to start investing domestically because it's like they have an easy, you know, way to acquire the chips. So there's like a balance to be made. Now we're probably leaning one side to, you know, we're on the too strict side, and now that they're just like, fuck it, we're just gonna start building our own chips, and, you know, Huawei's like, we don't even need NVIDIA now. And so now it's kind of like, you know, too late. So if NVIDIA even were to go back into China, it would likely just be continually shrinking. So it's like, I don't know. It's kind of too late, I guess, in my opinion. Dylan Patel from Semi-Analysis, great blog. He talked about this on I listened to him on like a podcast or something, but this Semi-Analysis is great for chips, data centers, very high quality, good research. So, yep, here it is, right here. Anyways, he talks a lot about this tariff stuff, like or restrictions and stuff, and finding a balance. Interesting, new to me.
That the way to curtail China's advance is to limit some of the exports of U.S. chips and U.S. technology to the world's second biggest economy. It seemed like Jensen Huang was saying that's not right. They're actually catching up. And if we separate ourselves, we're going to fall behind. How much is that catching on in any kind of policy circles, but also within the tech circles? Yeah,
I mean, as someone like myself, I've done so much of my career, you know, in China, in Taiwan, throughout Asia. That's unrealistic that think that China's just going to sit there. I mean, if you put them in a box with 2 toothpicks, seltzer water, and sunglasses, they'd come out with a chip. So the reality is you don't want to give them fuel. And I think that's what Jensen's talking about. You have some of the best engineers in the world. Right now, for the first time in 30 years, the U.S. is ahead of China when it comes to tech. Don't cut U.S. tech off at the knees. And I think that speaks to NVIDIA, speaks to Apple. And I think those are some of the things that you're hearing across the board that we're seeing in tech. And I think that's some of the damage and the balancing act that you guys see with these tariffs.
Do you think Jensen Huang then is going to have the company develop a chip that is export compliant to go into China?
Did she call him Jensen Huang?
100%.
But why would he do that if he did that with the H20?
Right.
And then the United States said you can't sell it?
It speaks in negotiation, because it comes down to, like, Jensen also recognizes in the Middle East and the red carpet tour, and the reality is, what's that tour without Jensen? What happens to Jensen? Yeah, we're not going to sell in the Middle East. I mean, it just speaks to, like, our biggest chips on the table. It's NVIDIA, it's Apple, in terms of broader negotiations.
But why would China want to buy a lesser chip when Jensen Huang is saying himself that Huawei, which is blacklisted by the United States, is quite formidable?
Look, and I think that right now is like they're going to come up with there's something like beyond an H200, less than a Blackwell, some sort of converted chip, because they need to stay ahead of Huawei in the China market. And that's why when you look at the reaction here, why tech's going to be up so much, despite, you know, even like the trade rule and everything we saw, it's because NVIDIA shows that this AI revolution right now is the ripple effect, but it all starts with NVIDIA.
Don't you think there's some tension brewing here?
100%.
The president doesn't want them selling into China. Jensen Huang's trying to create an argument that they should sell into China. The Wall Street Journal reporting this morning. I'll read this verbatim. Fresh accusations from US lawmakers that the company is too close to China. They've received a letter from a Republican, Senator Jim Banks, a Democrat, Senator Elizabeth Warren, accusing them of being too close to the second largest economy on the planet. How do you actually think this is going to play out?
Look, and remember, it's easy when you're in the beltway in front of a microphone, it's easy to say things, right? The reality of the markets are different. And I think it just comes down to U.S. tech. Part of why U.S. tech's leading China is that you need to have that market open up. And it speaks to the U.S.-China negotiations, why it's so important, not just for names like NVIDIA, but for Apple as well as the hyperscalers.
You say you need to have that market open up. Who's you?
U.S. tech needs that
US
market.
Yes, US tech does. Washington, D.C. disagrees.
And
isn't that the ultimate point of tension? And I would argue who wins out? The person setting the rules, which is Washington, D.C.
And I would, and I think that point in tension has been there for years. But the reality is that by ultimately closing off that market, what you're essentially doing is you're cutting U.S. tech off at the knees, and on a silver platter, you're making China stronger. So it goes to the whole Twilight Zone, however you want to think about it, is that this is all giving China an upper hand. That's what Jensen's saying last night, is like, we're leading. You continue to go down this path, Huawei will continue to narrow the gap.
To build on what John is talking about, there was a feeling that national security concerns would take precedence over profitability, over this idea that the tech giants really were necessarily leading the world. Do you think that that argument has fallen apart and that this administration essentially has put tech giants and their dominance at the forefront, even ahead of national security?
And I think it's I think it speaks in, I think that Middle East trip was a watershed event, because it shows the AI revolution now coming to the Middle East. But what does that mean without NVIDIA, without Amazon, without the hyperscalers?
Also, AI revolution coming to the Middle East with a caveat. They need to make sure there are guardrails so that these AI data centers do not have U.S. technology leaking to China.
And to your...
And that's what Biden was afraid of before. This is actually a very fascinating argument. I kind of like them questioning him, because it is. I'm interested to hear his opinion has been interesting. He is right, though, in the sense that if Trump went to Middle East and then just talked about AI, it would be worthless. But it's the fact that Trump went to the Middle East and was able to then sell, thousands of GPUs for NVIDIA. It's that's the big news. That's what, that's the interesting news to come out of this. It's I guess if he didn't have that, then it wouldn't really be as big. And now that, Trump is cutting NVIDIA out of China, NVIDIA, they're kind of saying that the hosts are saying that the person who sets the rules, i.e. Trump administration, controls, and has the most power. But I feel like he's kind of saying that NVIDIA has the bargaining power because of how important their technology is to work with the administration to get something that they could sell into China. And I agree. I think we do still need something in China. We just don't give them the best, but it's either that or it's China just continues to develop and, iterate on their own chips, and everyone just only buys, Huawei. And then they're just going to continue to improve. And so if we kind of leak in there, it kind of could slow that down a bit to, either help us keep the lead or get in a larger lead. And I think though, the hosts are just very stuck on Trump not moving and getting out of, allowing some sort of lesser chip in China.
Your point, you can't have both. You can't have your cake and eat it too, right? The point is how could you do with the Middle East, but then China and be okay, you can't have these chips, but we're going to sell next gen Blackwell chips to Saudi, UAE, and I think that's part of the issue. John, I think that's part of the issue here is that how do you balance that and talk out of both sides of your mouth? And the reality is what Jensen's saying is stop tying our hands behind our back. Stop giving this market to Huawei. Let us go after that market.
Yeah, I don't know. No, China moves. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. This is an interesting, and we really won't see the effects of this until much later. We really don't like won't, at least as like a, I'm sure the government has like spies or something, but like, you know, as kind of just like normal people, like we won't really see how that will affect us until like the AI race is like much closer, or they like start jumping ahead. Arguably China in just other technologies are even ahead. Yeah, I don't know. All right, Nvidia though is playing a very crucial part in this, like the AI strategy for America, whether good or bad. I mean, as a shareholder, I think that's good, but the tensions between Trump and Jensen, Nvidia and the Trump administration are just, it's not a good combination. Not a good combo. Okay, let's look at this. This might yeah, I want to read this report. Behind the curtain, a white collar bloodbath. And this is regarding Dario Mode, CEO of Anthropic, Claude. So I'm gonna use the restroom real quick, and then we'll come back and get water. Thank you. Uh, there's been talks. I've been seeing kind of rumbles on Twitter/X about how a big AI CEO talks about behind the scenes, that there's much more downsides to AI, but he obviously can't come out and publicly say that because, you know, it's like, you know, that's, you can't cause like the panic or whatever. It's like he's not really incentivized to say that. It'll kind of ruin what he has going and, you know, where he's working. And it's theorized that it's Demis Hassabis, the Google DeepMind CEO. So this kind of comes on the back of that, and so I'm curious what they had to say here. And it does seem to be kind of like two sides to the whole job thing. Like Jensen just said that, like, oh, it's gonna like create jobs or whatever. A lot other people are much more like, you know, like your job's gonna be gone in the next year. And there's also two sides to it too, because the people who are saying this are the people who are like CEO of Anthropic, it's OpenAI's Sam Altman, it's, you know, NVIDIA's Jensen Huang. All these people are incentivized to be saying the things that they're saying. And so that's my view of it. And, you know, I kind of take it with a grain of salt. The other view is people are like they have access no one else has. They have much more knowledge about this, and that the fact that they're saying that means that, you know, like they could be, it's like more likely to be true. So it's like hard to, you know, balance that out. I'm more so leaning in that like they are incentivized to say these and so they're gonna keep saying them. But like the fact that they are making these insane claims by like you know, within the next like year or two is kind of crazy, because like what happens when we get there and it's not the case? You know, like what they said isn't true. I guess to me it makes me like I would be embarrassed. Like I guess it seems kind of like they don't care, or that they're just gonna like brush it off when the time comes. Yeah, I don't know. But it's like they are selling a future, they're selling a vision, and so they have to say these things to be able to raise money and get people to believe in them, and, you know, have people give them billions of dollars and like all this stuff. So it's like, I don't know. It's hard to find like it's hard to really know what's true and not. That's why I think I've been trying to take more of like a practical look. Like there are real bottlenecks. We could look at history to see how other technology has diffused into the economy, especially with emerging technologies. I talk about the technological adoption curve. I talk about the technological adoption curve a lot. Because this is generally how emerging technologies get diffused into the economy. Arguably, we're probably still like here in terms of like actual mass adoption. Like, you know, like my parents are not, like my mom has like used AI, but she's used it because Microsoft put it right in front of her face on her computer, you know? To me, that like I that's like a litmus test for me, is like the mom test. Like if my mom like is using it and could use it, that's probably good. For example, on the other side, it'd be like the metaverse, and I'm explaining this kind of poorly. I'm just jumping around, but like the metaverse, my mom could never explain what the metaverse is. Doesn't know the metaverse is, whatever, and like that's clear, and that's failed. The fact that AI is continuing does make me think that, you know, the adoption will continue, and that we're gonna actually see continual growth, and it's not gonna die out. However, in the sense of bloodbath for jobs, I think, again, the practicality of it is it's going to take a long time. Even if tomorrow, let's say tomorrow OpenAI was like, we created a software engineer, we created a AI model that could replace all of your software engineers, it's going to take years for that to be, you know, accepted and corporations like integrate it into their systems. It's going to take a long time. Sure, the tech companies, the, you know, startups and everyone, like they'll be early, but that's because in the technological adoption curve, they're down here. So they you know, most corporations are over here. If you actually break this down, these are like psychographics. So like if we look at like innovators, first to embrace new technologies, that's, you know, likely us here on stream. We're on the forefront. We like, you know, we're okay with change. We could, you know, we're okay with learning things. We could, you know, we take a little risk. We're adventurous, eager to try out new novel ideas and products. They have this high social status within their peer groups. That's interesting. I've never heard that before. Influence and shaping perceptions about technology. Yeah, this is all true. Now, if we go to late majority and laggards, late majority adopt technology after the early majority has thoroughly tested it. They are typically skeptical of change and motivated by practicality rather than innovation. You'd think based off what I say, I would be here, but I'm still a believer. Late majority adopters may feel pressure to conform or fear of being left behind by their peers, Laggards are the last to adopt new technologies. They're often resistant to change and prefer traditional methods. So it's like, even if we snap our fingers and AI could replace jobs, there's still likely 50% of the economy that is going to take years to adopt this technology. That's really I feel like the practicality of it. Besides real life bottlenecks like energy, like compute, like algorithmic development, like research and development. So that's why it's like these predictions within the next like year or two are insane, in my opinion. So let's now read about this. That's my take on it, like on this like the AI job loss in general. So we got Dario Modi, CEO of Anthropic, one of the world's most powerful creators of artificial intelligence, has a blunt, scary warning for the US government and all of us. AI could wipe out half of all entry-level white-collar jobs and spike unemployment to 10 to 20% in the next 1 to 5 years. 1 year. Modi told us in an interview from his San Francisco office. I wish did they have a video of this? This is all 6 days ago. Like, now, Jesus, Biden's getting old. Whoops. Amode said, AI companies and governments need to stop sugarcoating what's coming. The possible mass elimination of jobs across technology, finance, law, consulting, and other white-collar professions, especially entry-level gigs. Why it matters. Amode, 42, who's building the very technology he predicts could reorder society overnight, said he's speaking out in hopes of jarring government and fellow AI companies into preparing and protecting the nation. Again, with this incentive, like, they are, again, he's incentivized to say this. There's also something to say. I actually wrote about this on another, like my more personal newsletter, technonomicon.io. I wrote about OpenAI and trying to, about regulatory capture and how OpenAI is really strategically trying to work with the government to get them to write regulation that is beneficial to them, and to likely make it harder for other early players, other like startups in AI in the spaces that they are in to get started. Right now with Trump's big beautiful bill I don't know if it's passed or not, but I think in there is something, a carve out for AI, saying that we can't write legislation for AI at the state level for the next 10 years. If Amode's saying that in the next 1 to 5 years we're going to have 20% unemployment due to AI, we would want to maybe be able to change the regulation to support, better support the quickness and the quick changing of AI. We're innovating very fast in artificial intelligence. We'd want to either wait and see, but we still would want the option to, if AI is all of a sudden like, become this weapon, like we'd probably want to curtail it a bit. So I mean, yeah, I don't know. All right, anyways, let's continue. Few are paying attention. Lawmakers don't get it or don't believe it. CEOs are afraid to talk about it. Many workers won't realize the risks posed by the possible job apocalypse until after it hits. Most of them are unaware that this is about to happen. Modi told us it sounds crazy and people just don't believe it. And also, I've made plenty of shorts on this, but when people like Amode, Sam Altman, when they say things like these insane claims, a lot of people just can't think of the steps in their head to of things happening to get to this point. So it's like, yeah, like unemployment spikes 20%. Most people just don't understand how that would happen. They're like, well, what? I don't get it. Like, what, it's like, and so like them saying this, but like not giving any details is like, I feel like that's part of the reason to why people don't really like realize it is because it's like, okay, like sure, that's just like some dude saying some crazy claim, you know? Like Sam Altman saying like, oh, it's gonna solve climate change, it's gonna solve cancer. It's like, that might be like a 10th order effect of AI. You know, like, yes, sure, AI will get smarter, which then unlocks this thing, which then unlocks this thing, which then unlocks, you know, maybe solving cancer. But like these other unlocks, it's like people in their head just can't picture what that's going to be, how you get there. And so it comes down to the trust part again, which I literally keep pushing. Amode, if you want people to believe you, get them to trust you more. Provide more Claude and Anthropic is very transparent, provide OpenAI, but like, it's because there's a mistrust gap. Yeah, I guess it's like, he's like, people don't believe us. It's like, you aren't doing much to make us believe you. Like, yeah, sure, releasing new and better AI models, but like, once you actually use them, you're like, bro, this shit's not taking my job right now. You know, it's like, yeah, I don't know. Okay, let's continue. President Trump has been quiet on the job risks of AI, but Steve Bannon, interesting, Steve Bannon always has something crazy to say, a top official in Trump's first term, whose War Room is one of the most powerful MAGA podcasts, says AI job killing, which gets virtually no attention now, will be a major issue in the 2028 presidential campaign. I think I actually believe this. Yeah, I think in the next 3 to 4 years, we'll have a better idea of the path we're going down. If by 2028 AI is starting to take some jobs, then yeah, I think that will be a big contention. I don't think anyone is taking into consideration how administrative, managerial, and tech jobs for people under 30, entry-level jobs that are so important in your 20s, are going to be eviscerated, Bannon told us. And at least in America, it's already very hard to get good, like, not good, but like, it's just hard to get entry-level jobs in general. Like, the job market is so bad. Amodai, who had just rolled out the latest versions of his own AI, which can code at near human levels, said the technology holds unimaginable possibilities to unleash mass good and bad at scale. Excuse me. Cancer is cured. The economy grows 10% a year. The budget is balanced, and 20% of people don't have jobs. Yes, that's one very possible scenario rattling in his mind as AI power expands exponentially. Also, I do feel like the opposite, like, I'm not like a pessimist, but I'm just being more pragmatic, I like to say. I'm still optimistic about AI, and I like the technology. I'm a supporter, user. I think a lot of times though, like if you were to argue with, or like talk about this, debate this with someone who's like a super believer, the problem is like they would just say AI would just solve all these problems that I would say that would come up. You know, so it'd be like, oh, like, well, we have real constraints. Like, yeah, but we could make an AI that could help with this bottleneck. And, you know, it's like, it's like kind of true, but like, it's not just like snap your fingers. It's easy like that. You know, it takes time, and like, you know, there's still things that have to play out. So it's like, like the believers are like super, it's almost like a cult isn't the right word, but like, I don't know. Amode agreed to go on the record with a deep concern that other leading AI executives have told us privately. Yes, and this has been more and more the case, though. I think, though, the more so the private is, like, more the harm that AI could cause, not necessarily, like, unemployment or job loss. Even those who are optimistic AI will unleash unthinkable cures and unimaginable economic growth fear dangerous short-term pain and possible job bloodbath during Trump's term. And unfortunately, Trump is the worst president to have this happen under, because Republicans just don't really believe in any social safety net. They want to privatize everything. They want, they want to lean into this the capitalistic tendencies that America has really pushed over the last few years. Like since the neoliberal agenda, like Ronald Reagan era. We as the producers of this technology have a duty and obligation to be honest about what's coming, Amode told us. I don't think this is on people's radar. It's a very strange set of dynamics, he added, where we're saying you should be worried about where the technology we're building is going. Critics reply, we don't believe you, you're just hyping it up. And that is kind of like my opinion, if I'm being honest. I guess it's not that I don't believe them. I just think that add like 2 to 5 years on all their timelines, and then that's probably what I believe. He says the skeptics should ask themselves, well, what if they're right? If they're right, then hopefully I'm good covering it as a content creator. That's my bet. That is my bet. And eventually I want to start transitioning into tutorials about how to do things with AI on a separate channel to teach people how to use it. And so that's my hope, is that because I'm early and I get a lot of knowledge, I understand the dynamics, I could then use that knowledge, as my professional moat, so to speak, whether that be creating content or working for a corporation. They should be more open so that we can trust. Exactly. And that's what I'm saying. It's like they're not really trying. Like they're not trying that hard to give us their trust. It's like they should just, if you don't believe us, then make us believe you. Do something that's undeniable that we could believe, more so. Again, it's not that I don't believe them, it's more so that it's just like, it's more of like a in between. An irony. Amode detailed these grave fears for us after spending the day on stage touting the astonishing capabilities of his own technology to code and power after human replacing AI products. With last week's release of Claude 4, Anthropic's latest chatbot, the company revealed that testing showed the model was capable of extreme blackmail behavior. Yes. Yes. When given access to emails suggesting the model would soon be taken offline and replaced with new AI systems. Yeah, it was an extramural affair. It was like a simulated situation. The model responded by threatening to reveal an extramural affair, detailed in the emails, so this person cheating, by the engineer in charge of the replacement. Modi acknowledged the contradiction, but says workers are already a little bit better off if we just manage to successfully warn people. Wait, what? Oh, I see. But because he's warning people now that he's like, it's okay. He's like, I warned everyone. Here's how Modi and others fear the white-collar bloodbath is unfolding. OpenAI, Google, Anthropic, and other large AI companies keep vastly improving the capabilities of their large language models to meet and beat human performance with more and more tasks. This is happening and accelerating. The U.S. government, says vastly improved capabilities, to meet and beat human performance with more and more tasks. Yeah, but that is only one step. Transitioning it into being a useful worker is a completely different skill set. Integrating it in the enterprise is completely different than it just being able to beat humans. The US government, worried about losing ground to China or spooking workers with preemptive warnings, says little. The administration and Congress neither regulate AI nor caution the American public. This is happening and showing no signs of changing. There is talk about regulation though, like that. At least even here in California, I know we have Silicon Valley, but there's been several legislation talks about legislation. Even our governor Gavin Newsom didn't vetoing the big AI safety bill that actually Elon Musk supported, which was interesting. Most Americans, unaware of the growing power of AI and its threat to their jobs, pay little attention. This is happening too. I mean, yeah. But this is no different than many other situations. You swap out this with other, other bad situations, and it's no different. And that's also part of being a human. Human definitely suppresses things that they don't want, that they think is bad or don't want to think about, like your brain. So yeah, I don't know. And then almost overnight, business leaders see the savings in replacing humans with AI, and do this in mass. They stop opening up new jobs, stop backfilling existing ones, and then replace human workers with agents or related automated alternatives. The public only realizes when it's too late. The other side. Amodi started Anthropic after leaving OpenAI, where he was VP of Research. His former boss, OpenAI CEO Sam Altman, makes the case for realistic optimism based on the history of technological advancements. If a lamplighter could see the world today, Altman wrote in a September manifesto, sunnily titled The Intelligence Age, he would think the prosperity all around him was unimaginable. Okay. But far too many workers still see chatbots mainly as fancy search engine. Yeah, because in a lot of cases that is exactly what it is. A tireless researcher or a brilliant proofreader. Because again, with the tools that they give us, they're only giving us a chatbot. You know, a chat window. Most unless you are over here and understand how to program and code and know all the nuances it takes to build something yourself, you're only given what you're only going to use what's the easiest way or what your level of knowledge is to access the thing. ChatGPT, Claude, that's what they're giving us. That's what they're giving most people. And so that's exactly what they're going to use it as. This is what I'm saying. It's like they're not even trying to really paint a picture or help us trust them or believe in them like that, Yeah, exactly. People do use AI as a search engine. Literally, it's like, this is what this is right here. This is what exactly what Perplexity is, But also that's ChatGPT. It's like I think Sam Altman said that boomers use ChatGPT like a search engine. Millennials use it as like a life coach type of person. College students use it as like their operating system. I think is interesting. It's coming from Sam Altman. But yeah, it's like, so just pay attention to what they actually can do. They're fantastic at summarizing, brainstorming, reading documents, reviewing legal contracts, and delivering specific and eerily accurate interpretations of medical symptoms and health records. Jensen vision of ChatGPT basically make AI a personal tutor. Totally. I mean, that's what I use it to teach myself things. I kind of use it. I've been using it much more recently to help with workflow stuff. So I'll replace a step in my workflow. I'll just give it to ChatGPT or an AI. I've been using Klein locally, and it just kind of does it. Yeah, and I mean, these are all good use cases though. But again, most people, this is their only way of accessing the AI. It's just through a window like this. We know this stuff is scary and seems like a science fiction, but we're shocked how little attention most people are paying to the pros and cons of superhuman intelligence. Yeah. I don't know. Clean AI? What's that? I may have misspoken. Anthropic research shows that right now AI models are being used mainly for augmentation. Yes, helping people do a job. That can be good for the worker and the company, freeing them up to do high-level tasks while the AI does the rote work. And this is where the agents are good, because they are good as augmentation. This is where most people, I think, just see the end of AI going. Is oh, it's just a cool, better tool to help me do my job quicker or better. The truth is that AI used in companies will tip more and more towards automation, actually doing the job. It's going to happen in a small amount of time, as little as a couple of years or less, Amode says. Yeah, but for example, my last job, I was business intelligence analyst. I worked in business intelligence. We handled automation. We handled data science. Most of our job was trying to automate things that were extremely tedious. And AI would 100% fail at that thing because there's so much uncertainty in the automation. The automation would break nearly every day because of human mistakes, because of, you know, the websites that we're going to that we're trying to like scrape and download data. They changed like every single day. It seemed like they would do things like there's just so much uncertainty that even, you know, like an AI would likely have trouble doing that. But like that automation took forever to set up. And yeah, sure, you could use AI now, I'm sure, to improve that and make it better. And like, you know, with computer use, I'm sure like it'll get better, like faster. But I guess my point is, an AI would not be able to automate that right now. Like we need improvements in just AI in general to even get close to something automating something like that. Sure, my job as an analyst likely could change, but again, it's going to the people, interviewing them, asking where their bottlenecks are, what do they want to track. Like there's all this nuance that people ignore when like kind of thinking about actual jobs. And to the fact that a lot of times the craziest things you do see with AI take many iterations and a significant amount of tweaking and tuning to still do the thing. Personally, how you want AI websites to look so when people don't use it as a search engine, don't make it look like a search engine. I don't know, but it right now, it's like the same. And then where's even, like, I don't even have where's Google's AI stuff? I don't know. If you don't want them to treat it like a search engine, don't make it look like a search engine. That's how kind of I feel. I guess I don't really know, but like, have they, like, they just haven't really tried. Like this is like the only way. I guess I think this is a good paradigm right here. Something like this. It's a workspace. So I could have Klein you know, do things for me, and then I could, like, you know, I was reading this AI agent, so you can't really see. You know, like, this is good. So you could, like, here I could be like, hey, like, what do you think of the AI agents? What do you think of like this report? And we could talk, you know, and it could go here. It's using Gemini 2.5. And it's like, oh, it's reading this file, it loaded it in. You know, it's like, it's more like a workspace versus just like this. And so now it's more like interactive, and it's like, okay, like, let's say I want to make let's go back here. It's like, I want to add like notes, new file to like, you know, notes. And now I have notes, and then I could kind of go like, you know, like this, and I got like Klein, like this is cool. And I could take notes on this, and then like Klein's here, like helping me research, like, I don't know. But again, this is familiar. If they want to eventually reach these laggards and, you know, the more conservative type of technology adopters, they need something that's familiar to bridge the gap. So it's not like I'm blaming them, but like it's gonna, like, they're gonna have to transition away from something like this, I feel like, to really like get the full use of AI, unless they don't want to. And unfortunately, we're at the perils of these platform companies. So that's why I've been using Klein as like a personal, instead of just coding, like personal AI assistant, and using VS Codium, which is a fork of VS Code that has all the Microsoft telemetry removed, as like a workspace. And then I kind of have this here as like just notes. I've been kind of like messing around with like stream transcripts. I really like this as like a workspace. But most people, this is probably just going to be fine. because it's familiar. It's easy for them to use the AI in. Now, I could talk forever about the technology adoption curve in this, but there's also something to say that as we get to as more people adopt AI, likely the complexity of AI needs to be abstracted away to get more of these conservative type of people to use it. So unfortunately, we may be stuck with this for a while because one is familiar, but it's easy to abstract away all the complexities behind the scenes when natural language is just in front, is like it's like the way you just communicate. So like eventually it might be like, hey, find me a plane ticket to go from here to here on this date. And then like behind the scenes is where all the, like it'll dispatch an agent and do shit and whatever. So, I mean, like, I don't know. I kind of just brain dumped there. I was just like ranting, but it goes back to they need to try harder to make us understand what's coming and to help us use and utilize the tool better. I think they're leaning very hard into this natural language, and like I know it understands natural language well, but is that really the end goal? Like, I don't know. Yeah. Thank you. But anyways, yeah. So okay, let's keep reading here. Where were we? Yeah, they still see chatbots as mainly a fancy search engine, a tireless researcher, a brilliant proofreader. Pay attention to what they actually can do. Summarizing, brainstorming, reading documents, reviewing legal contracts, delivering specific interpretations. Okay. Anthropic research shows that right now, AI models are being used mainly for augmentation. Okay, we actually read that. Okay, here we go. Yeah, then he's talked about companies will tip more towards automation, actually doing the job. It's going to happen in a small amount of time, as little as a couple of years or less. The scenario has begun. Hundreds of technology companies are in the wild race to produce so-called agents or agentic AI. These agents are powerful by the LLMs. You need to understand what an agent is and why companies building them see them as incalculably valuable. In its simplest form, an agent is an AI that can do the work of humans instantly, indefinitely, and exponentially cheaper. Also, in parallel, you could spin up 100 agents alongside each other to do something. But I think, really, right now, the agent, it says AI that can do the work of humans. I really think it should be that can like automate workflows. Like that's really like what it could do right now. Imagine an agent writing the code to power your technology or handling finance frameworks and analysis or customer support or marketing or copying, editing or content distribution or research. The possibilities are endless and not remotely fantastical. Many of these agents are already operating inside companies and many more are in fast production. There is, though, to be said, a lot of people who are kind of like, not anti-AI, but like they just don't like the idea of AI doing things for them. Likely, though, again, they're going to be probably in the laggards here. But, yeah. Those are the holdouts. That's why Meta's Mark Zuckerberg and others have said that mid-level coders will be unnecessary soon, perhaps in this calendar year. Zuckerberg in January told Joe Rogan, probably in 2025, we at Meta, as well as the other companies that are basically working on this, are going to have an AI that can effectively be a sort of mid-level engineer that you have at your company that can write code, he said. This will eventually reduce the need for humans to do this work. Shortly after, Meta announced plans to shrink its workforce by 5%. But I mean, like, to be fair, this is likely unrelated. All big tech companies have been shaving off and really just firing middle management, so I don't know. There's a lively debate about when businesses shift from traditional software to agentic future. Few doubt it's coming fast. The common consensus, it'll hit gradually, then suddenly, perhaps next year. And it's also like, if you read past the headlines too, you know that like it's not just like snap your fingers and this agent stuff works. Like Microsoft's like agent rollout has been very like bumpy. You know, like some even call it like gimmicky. I've been calling it gimmicky based off of kind of what I've seen, and I kind of agree a bit. Like there's definitely quality sacrifice depending to use these things right now. Make no mistake, we've talked to scores of CEOs at companies in various sizes across many industries. Every single one of them is working furiously to figure out when and how agents or other AI technology can displace human workers at scale. The second these technologies can operate at human efficacy level, which could be 6 months to several years from now, companies will shift from humans to machines. People should know the difference between AI agents and agentic AI. People don't even know what any of them mean. Most people don't even know what any of them mean. That's actually what this thing was about, though. It's kind of... This could wipe out tens of millions of jobs in a very short period of time. Yes, past technological transformations wiped away a lot of jobs, but over the long span created many more and new ones. This could hold true with AI too. What's different here is both the speed at which AI's transformation could hit and the breadth of industry and individual jobs that will be profoundly affected. Realistically, though, I think this is also just a larger testament to say that most office jobs are just kind of bullshit in general. Like, and so like, I guess maybe there's something to say that just because AI is now replacing them, it doesn't mean that they were valid even before, you know? Like, if the job shouldn't have existed for the past 5 years, just because AI takes it now, it like, I don't, like, you just wrong place, wrong time. I don't know. You're starting to see even big profitable companies pull back. Microsoft laid off 6,000 workers, many of them engineers, but these were mid-level. It was like mid-level manager type of people. Granted, it's still engineers, but Walmart is cutting 1,500 corporate jobs as part of simplifying operations and anticipation of a big shift ahead. Okay, Starbucks also just did, corporate layoffs, but like, like, I guess like right now a lot of people are being laid off too. Like, to put this on AI, I don't think is really the right view. CrowdStrike, a Texas-based cybersecurity company, slashed 500 jobs or 5% of its workforce, citing a market and technology inflection point with AI reshaping every industry. This is this means nothing. They didn't say anything about how this layoff is related. Anish Raman, Chief Economic Opportunity Officer at LinkedIn, warned in a New York Times op-ed, gift link, this month that AI is breaking the bottom rungs of the career ladder. Junior software developers, junior paralegals, and first-year law firm associates who once cut their teeth on document review, and young retail associates who are being supplanted by chatbots and other automated customer service tools. My sister's going to law school, so hopefully she has a job when she comes out. She was managed to get an internship, no problem, so that seems, that seems a little optimistic. Interesting. This will read later. Less public are the daily C-suite conversations everywhere about pausing new job listings or filling existing ones, till companies can determine whether AI will be better than humans at fulfilling the task. Also, like, what do you want people to do? Like, he's like coming out here like warning people, but it's like, what could they do? Like, what is supposed to like get another job at an industry that isn't it with AI? But that's like it. You can't just again snap your fingers and have that exist. Like, job transitioning, industry transitioning, like that's hard and it's not easy. Like, I guess like maybe like what are they saying that we should do? The fact that they don't even like aren't thinking about like then like that, it also is like, I don't know. Maybe that's like in kind of the argument for like not believing them, but I don't know. Yeah, he says like, yeah, right. It's just like, oh yeah, like 10-20%, you know, like your job's gonna be taken by AI. It's like, well, what should I do? He's like, oh, that's not my problem. I'm just creating a thing that takes your job. Nah, but I would like to see. I would like more like opinions from these people who are saying that like AI is gonna take all the jobs. Like, what should you do? I guarantee you they're gonna say, come work in AI. You know. Which, I mean, is probably a good bet in general, but, like, that's kind of, like, how I'm betting on it. It's like, I just want to be involved in the industry, but it's like, it's not everyone can just snap their fingers and do that, I guess is my point. Again, most, like, unless you're down here, you know, it's like, it's too much, you know? It's not as easy as people kind of put it out to be. We are kind of privileged in the sense to like be able to learn and have this knowledge that we do, to be okay with change. Like those are hard. Like to get to there, like it's not like you can just snap your fingers. It's like lifestyle changes. Like that's why people aren't, you know, like thinking about this. It's like, do I want to upend my entire career and potentially life based off of, you know, what these like tech bro Silicon Valley CEOs are saying? A lot of people like don't care about that. Full disclosure, at Axios, we ask our managers to explain why AI won't be doing specific job before greenlighting its approval. Axios stories are always written and edited by humans. Few want to admit this publicly, but every CEO is or will soon be doing this privately. Jim wrote a column last week explaining a few steps CEOs can take now. This will likely juice historic growth for the winners, the big AI companies, the creators of new businesses feeding off AI, existing companies running faster, productivity, increased productivity, vastly more profitable, and wealthy investors betting on this outcome. Yeah, and in looking at the demographics of who's using AI, it's generally wealthy, affluent, like young males, which is like the most privileged privileged demographic pretty much, at least in the United States, arguably in the world. That's that's one thing to be considered too. But it's, and again, that kind of goes into the fact of like who's kind of here in this early adopter stage. The results could be a great concentration of wealth. Yep. And it could become difficult for a substantial part of the population to really contribute, Amodi told us. And that's really bad. We don't want that. The balance of power of democracy is premised on the average person having leveraged through creating economic value. Yes. That is what capitalism promotes. And when that falls apart, it's like, if that's not present, I think the things become kind of scary. Yep, inequality becomes scary, and I'm worried about it. It's interesting. Modi sees himself as a truth teller, not a doomsayer. And he was eager to talk to us about solutions. None of them would change the reality we've sketched above. Market forces are going to keep propelling AI towards human-like reasoning. Even if progress in the US were throttled, China would keep racing ahead. Yeah, and that's kind of the problem right now. And that's why it's gonna, like, the ship is moved. This ship has sailed. Jump on it or be left behind. That's kind of what he's saying. Now, again, the time frame he's saying it in is a little, that's more so what's hard to believe. Modi's hardly hopeless. He sees a variety of ways to mitigate the worst scenarios, as do others. Here are a few ideas distilled from our conversations with Anthropic and others deeply involved in mapping and preempting the problem. Speed up public awareness with government and AI companies more transparently, explaining the workforce changes to come. Yes. Wow. Oh my gosh. The crazy thought. Crazy. Be clear that some jobs are so vulnerable that it's worth reflecting on your career path now. The first step is warn, Modi says. He created an Anthropic Economic Index, which provides real-world data on cloud usage across occupations. Well, that's cool. I've never seen that. We'll look at that in a sec. And the Anthropic Economic Advisory Council to help stoke public debate. Modi said he hopes the index spurs other companies to share insights on how workers are using their models, giving policymakers a more comprehensive picture. Again, like, okay, last updated like 3 months ago, 2 months ago. I don't know what I'm supposed to get from this. Here, okay, is this the okay. All right. Again, it's not like they're making it easy to understand, bro. I need to fucking, put on my data analyst hat to like view these. Which again, it's like they're targeting like people here. Slow down job displacement by helping American workers better understand how AI augment their tasks now. That at least gives more people a legit shot at navigating this transition. Encourage CEOs to educate themselves and their workers. How does this help the workers? Most members of Congress are woefully uninformed about the realities of AI and its effect on their constituents. Better informed public officials can help better inform the public. A joint committee on AI or more formal briefings for all lawmakers would be a start. Same at local level. Yeah, this is a good start, definitely. Begin debating policy solutions for an economy dominated by superhuman intelligence. See, and like this is where like it's like how? What does a superhuman intelligence look like? Like it's hard to debate policy when it's like the thing doesn't even exist, isn't even here, and also every company probably has a different definition and idea about what superhuman intelligence even means. This ranges from job retraining programs to innovative ways to spread wealth creation by big AI companies if Modi's worst fears come true. Yeah, this would be nice, but like jobs retraining is probably the number one thing. It's going to involve taxes on people like me and maybe specifically on the AI companies, said the Anthropic boss told us. This is kind of the Andrew Yang type of view. Tax the companies who create the automation. A policy idea Modi floated with us is a token tax. Every time someone uses a model and the AI company makes money, perhaps 3% of that revenue goes to the government and is redistributed in some way. Okay, that's interesting. Again, though, trusting the government with this is also like, the government moves very slow. Obviously, that's not in my economic interest, he added, but I think that would be a reasonable solution to the problem. And if AI's power races ahead the way he expects, that could raise trillions of dollars. The bottom line. You can't just step in front of the train and stop it, Modi says. The only move that's going to work is steering the train. Steer it 10 degrees in a different direction from where it's going. That can be done. That's possible, but we have to do it now. That was a lot. That was a big read. Interesting. I don't want to like come out of this like thinking I'm like super negative towards AI, because I am optimistic. I just want a more equitable relationship with the AI companies. I want them to be more transparent. I want them to focus more on trust with the public. It's like Modi's complaining, like talking about, not complaining, but like he's talking about like this problem that he has, but also like what's he doing to help fix the transparency problem, the solution, the trust problem. So it's more so I just want them to be more more open and transparent with things like this. Not go, like the fact that they're so bubbly and optimistic and stuff when it's reality. In reality, it's like not. It shouldn't be like that, you know, like up, it shouldn't be like up here. It should maybe be down a little, you know, 2 notches or so. Like, that's what, like, it's hard to then change people's minds like that. And it also makes people not trust you. Last thing here on this, what was it called? Stanford AI Index. Stanford does like a report. We should start looking at these. I used to look at a lot of industry reports. I need to start looking at them more because it's interesting. If you go to the public opinion section. Nope. Public opinion. Let's look at United States. It says, products and services using artificial intelligence make me nervous. United States, 12%. China, 4%. Products and services using artificial intelligence will profoundly change my daily life in the next 3 to 5 years. This is China's 2%. United States actually 12%. Or no, China's 6%. And it's pretty much there. My point is, like, China's already ahead of us on, like, the trust part. I think this is the big one. It's so small, I'm sorry. Trying to get a good view. This one here. Jesus, bro, this website is so bad. It's tiny. I can't even read this. China, or it says products and services using artificial intelligence make me nervous. China, 34%. Agree. United States, 64%. Literally almost double China. I can't. I have this special. Let's try this. God damn it. I have this extension that like lets me like override that sometimes. Yeah, my point is China's way more optimistic than the United States, and I think that is again the problem. You know, United States, it's like we're just not doing anything to help with this. Meanwhile, even if China's behind in the race, in the AI race, they're still more optimistic, and their citizens are more likely to trust and use AI products. So it's like, even if regardless, it's like, you know, and there's been I think it's Michigan. This is Pew, but this was earlier. Yeah, but I guess right here, it's like AI experts more likely than the public to say AI will have a positive effect on the US over the next 20 years. US adults, 35% say it's going to be negative, only 17% say it's going to be positive. I know this is the United States, but still. You know, I guess like this is kind of the point, is like the data is out there. It's public knowledge that people have negative views. They don't trust it. And it's like, they're like, why isn't everyone thinking about this? It's like, I don't know. Like, 3/4 of AI experts think AI will likely benefit them personally, much higher than the share of US adults. Percent who say they think the increased use of artificial intelligence is more likely to harm them, 43%. You know, like, this is why. Anyways. And I guess this is why maybe like I'm being a bit more like middle ground with this. Like, I'm a bit more pragmatic, where it's like, I just see that we have to get over these humps to get realistic adoption and not have it be this super negative thing. In the AI 2027 report, they actually, in the forecast, if we look here at the approval rating, this is a forecast, this isn't true, but as we go down, the approval rating continues to go down too. Like, approval keeps going down until we get to a point where it's like positive for humanity and people understand what the actual end goal is. You know? So it's like, I don't know. Anyways, I'm still optimistic. I still think that it'll be a net positive in the long run. I just wish the big AI companies would do more to help people trust them and understand what is to come. That's it. I want the relationship to be more equitable. So, all right, that's gonna do it for today. Ugh, a lot of ranting. No stream tomorrow. I'm actually going camping this weekend. But I'll be back Monday. We will be back Monday. I'm gonna find a market report. I want to research. I want to find some more research reports. We haven't looked in a while, and we get a lot of cool new information from there. W stream, Joy came, stay safe. Thank you, man. Hopefully you have a good weekend too. And yeah, we'll be back Monday. Appreciate everyone hanging out and tuning in. Listen to me. Hope you learned something or entertained. Yeah, we'll see you Monday, 9 a.m. Pacific.